Well, this ought to be an interesting matchup in Michigan between two 4-3 Michigan teams. One, the Spartans, who are looking better than their preseason projections, and one, the Wolverines, looking worse than at least my preseason projections. Here we go. This game is this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Big Ten Network. Both teams are 4-3 entering this Paul Bunyan rivalry. Both teams are very similar in points per game and defensive points per game. Michigan State scores 22 points per game, while Michigan gives up 22 points per game. The funny thing is, Michigan scores 21 points per game, and MSU gives up 21 points per game. So right there, it would be a 22-21 victory for the Spartans, right? But a lot goes into it, and I know every game is different and every schedule is created unequal. It comes down to the yards gained in between the points for the winner. Most of the time in this game, especially, how many running yards, how many rush yards does a team have? That usually, whoever has the most wins this game. First, we talk Michigan State's offense versus Michigan's defense, then Michigan's offense versus Michigan State's defense. That side of the ball, I think, is the key. Michigan's offense. Can they score more than 7 points? And who is going to be the quarterback? We really don't know yet. I haven't heard anything, so I'm assuming that they're going to stick with Tuttle. Michigan has enough weapons to make Michigan sweat this one and lose this game. So here we go. Michigan State's offense, like I said, 22 points per game, 366 yards per game so far this season, 233 of which are passing yards per game with Aiden Childs and company. Rushing yards per game, 133, so much more of a balanced team than, say, Michigan. They scored 32 points on Iowa's defense this past week, so they are trending up. Aiden Childs, as I said, 108 for 182 is only 59% this season, but he has a 1,468 passing yards and an 8.1 average per completion. He has 6 touchdowns, but 9 interceptions. He's got to clean that up. 56 carries by Aiden Childs. 15 of those are sacks. Them are factored into the rushing statistics for quarterbacks in college. He's got 56 carries for 166 yards. That's a 3-yard average, but he has 3 rushing touchdowns so far this season. At running back, Michigan State has K'Ron Lynch-Adams, a senior. 82 rushes so far for 424 yards. That's good enough for a 5.2 average per rush, and he has 2 rushing touchdowns, but he also has 6 catches for 48 yards out of the backfield, an 8-yard receiving average. Nate Carter backs him up, a junior, 67 carries for 294 yards, 4.4 average, and 2 touchdowns. At tight end, Jack Velling has 23 catches for 256 yards, and that's an 11.1 average. 4 good wide receivers for Aiden Childs on Michigan State's roster. Nick Marsh is a freshman coming on the scene very nicely. 24 catches, 433 receiving yards. That's an 18-yard average. And he has a touchdown. Montori Foster Jr. is the senior who has 27 catches for 374 yards, 13.9 average per reception. Jaron Glover is a sophomore, 13 catches, 158 yards. That's a 12.2 average, and he has 2 receiving touchdowns. And then Isaiah Johnson, another freshman, has 8 catches for 145 yards, so we got to watch out for him. 18.1 average, and he has a receiving touchdown. So this secondary from Michigan, Wink Martindale, has his job cut out for him this upcoming week. We're giving up 22 points per game, 326 yards per game, 234 passing yards per game. Only 92 rushing yards per game, but that, the defensive line will start. They're the best in the nation. They, at least the interior too, for Michigan are. It's the strong suit. If they don't get tired out, that is, because of the hurry up and too many plays, and the offense putting them back on the field because of turnovers. Drastic changes are not needed for the Michigan defense, but 6 of the top 14 tacklers for Michigan's defense are defensive linemen. Mason Graham has 27 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup on the interior. Pass rusher Josiah Stewart has 27 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 1 pass breakup. 24 tackles, 5.5 sacks, excuse me, I was listing Mason Graham again. 5.5 sacks and 1 forced fumble as a pass rusher. And then Rayshon Benny has 21 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and a pass breakup. Pass rusher TJ Guy has 19 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and all of that is mostly pretty recent. He came in, he's been having to play more now that Derek Moore only has 12 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 pass breakup. He needs to step up for this defensive line to have a good quality rotation. I'm not sure if he's hurt or not. I think he played in the last game. So, and then there is Kenneth Grant on the interior with 16 tackles. This monster has 2 sacks and 4 pass breakups. So all these guys, if they can't get there, they get their hand up and they have batted passes down. At linebacker, we have our 2 linebackers lead the team in tackles. Ernest Hausman leads the team with 45. He also has a sack, a pass breakup, and an interception. And then Jay Sean Barham has 37 tackles now and 2 PBUs. The secondary has been the weakest link. Wink. Is it the scheme or is it the players? I think it is the scheme. These players are good. Will Johnson, he has only 14 tackles, 3 PBUs, 2 interceptions for touchdowns in limited time. He's been nicked and banged, and they're being very cautious with Will Johnson. Zeke Berry has 21 tackles, 2 pass breakups, an interception, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Makari Page at safety has 31 tackles. That's too many for a safety. That means people are getting by your defensive line and your corners. The safety has to come in and clean things up. That's too many tackles for him, but he has 2 pass breakups and an interception. And then Quentin Johnson at safety has 29 tackles and 2 pass breakups. Jair Hill has 25 tackles, 1 sack, 6 pass breakups on the outside, and 1 interception. So, how many points do you think Michigan State can score? And does it come down to the schematics that Wink Martindale has set up for them? In other words, is there going to be too many blitzes? Because this defensive line is good enough to get home, should be good enough to get home on their own. Leaving 5 secondary players. I saw a coverage sack in the game last week, so maybe we're trending in the right direction there. Now, let's talk about Michigan's offense. They're still averaging 21 points per game. 308 yards per game is all. 128 passing yards per game and 180 rushing yards per game. They just scored 7 points versus Illinois. Quarterback, I don't know. I don't know. Is it Tuttle? Is it Warren? Is it Orgy? Or will they force Jaden Davis to play even though his parents don't want him to? I have no clue. But the running back room, Kalel Mullings is amazing. He has 676 rushing yards now on 110 carries. That's a 6.1 average and 7 rushing touchdowns. Donovan Edwards has 80 carries now, too many, for 391 yards, 4.9 average, and he has 3 rushing touchdowns. He needs to be more in the role of the catches out of the backfield, or even in the slot, or even out wide. But he does have 9 catches this season for 46 yards, a 5.1 average is all, and 1 receiving touchdown. Our receiving core is made up of 3 tight ends right now. Colston Loveland has 36 catches for 344 yards, 9.6 average, and 2 receiving touchdowns. He's an amazing player. Target him as many times as you can, but don't transcript the play like Tuttle did for the interception last week. Everyone knew it was going to him, and the defender just stepped in front, picked it off. Marlon Klein is the 3rd leading receiver on this team with 8 catches and 80 yards. That's it. So why do I keep preaching to Michigan and the coaching staff that they have to just run the ball and find new ways to do that? This is why. Hogan Hansen, another tight end, has 5 catches for 59 yards, an 11.8 average, and he has a receiving touchdown. Guess who threw him that touchdown? Alex Orgy. All right. Wide receiver, Samaj Morgan has 17 catches for only 106 receiving yards, a 6.2 average, and he has a receiving touchdown. He is the number 2 receiver for us. Fred Moore, Kendrick Bell, Amorian Walker just hasn't gotten the ball. Mainly, they're all good enough, mainly because of the quarterback situation. Lesser fault on the play calling, but Michigan does pass the ball too much, in fact, like I just said, with the quarterback that we have. Let's stick with what works. Now that's all going up against Michigan State's defense, giving up 21 points per game, 323 yards per game, 192 passing, and 131 running. Jordan Turner, the linebacker, leads their team as well with 43 tackles, but he also has 3 sacks and an interception. And then linebacker Cal Halliday is the 2nd leading tackler with 34 tackles is all. He had a sack and a forced fumble so far as well. Then 5 defensive backs look pretty good for the Spartans. Nakai Martinez has 31 tackles and 2 picks. Malik Spencer has 30 tackles, 2 pass breakups, 1 interception, and a forced fumble. Ed Woods has 26 tackles, 1 sack, and a pass breakup. And then Charles Brantley has 26 tackles and 5 pass breakups 3 interceptions, and one of them went for a touchdown. And Angelo Gross has 23 tackles, 1 pass breakup, 1 interception, and a forced fumble in their secondary. Now, the reprieve for Michigan in this game is Michigan State's defensive line. The defensive line doesn't seem that great, other than a few players. Chris Bogle has 22 tackles and 3 sacks. Daquan Dowse has 17 tackles, 1 sack. And Anthony Jones has 13 tackles, only 2 sacks. All right. Factoring all this in as prediction time now, I think Michigan, it comes down to who is the starting quarterback. If Orgy starts like I want, Michigan might score more than 7 points. As long as they feed Mullings and run Orgy too. Read option. Do it all with them and then have Edwards off of that and then Loveland on the outside for the play action. MSU might be facing the best talented defense that they've played so far, including Iowa. It's just misused. The talent is the best that they've played. That includes Ohio State, too, in my opinion. Just Jim Knowles is a much better coordinator so far. So can they score enough points to beat out Michigan? I think they can score enough points. Michigan State is going to win this game. It's the first time I picked Michigan to lose a game this season. First time I picked them to lose a game in a few years. But it's becoming very evident to me that they do not want to dive in on what works, and they're still going to meddle with this passing stuff that has never worked all season. Michigan State is going to win this game in Ann Arbor, 20-17. But if Orgy started this game and the ground game grinds, then the sky is the limit for Michigan's offense, in my opinion. Then the play action works. Then the water gates open if we can just physically manhandle them up front and determine possession, all of the same things I wanted them to do in the last 7 games, and they haven't yet. So, it's up to the coaching staff. There is that glimmer of hope that Orgy will start, and they can do that. Otherwise, Michigan State's going to win this game. They are the better team. They have a better trajectory. They're going up. Michigan's going down. And that's how I have it. 20-17 win for Michigan State. And I saw the line last night as I was researching this game. I don't know how Michigan's favored by 5 points. It must be the public. The Sharps aren't doing that, I don't think. So there you go. God damn it. Like the video. Share with others. Subscribe if you have not. Watch other videos. This one sucks, but like it anyway. And have a great day and continue to go blue.